everybody, and welcome to our new stream. This time we're going to be discussing the Hawaiian telescope and controversy surrounding that particular decision, or at least proposal. I'm joined today by every one of my favorite panelists, Calon, Cingeto, and Rhuagh. So let's get started. Yes, exactly. So I think, for fuck's sake. Sorry.
Guys on stream. No more money.
I'm sorry. No, I kind of
You only have one.
forgot. Part of the thinking was wrong, and you guys were not. So here we go. Now we guys. So let's get this started. So what's the first impression of this controversy?
Get your dirty telescope off the mountain.
White people fucking suck.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, Via does have a point.
Our colonialist legacy is being continued, and we are.
Yes, very much so.
For those of you who don't know, it's the idea that the white man somehow has this burden that they have to share their so-called advancements with all these so-called savage people of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not often explicitly stated in racial terms, but that's the underlying current or social force that's moving. The idea that these savages are clearly inferior to us, and so we therefore must educate them.
And that any of their practices are deemed inferior, so we can do whatever we want.
Which includes enslaving.
Yeah.
Okay, so about the telescope, though.
Well, at least by us, but I do know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is in support of the people against the telescope.
Who's Dwayne? Who's he?
You don't know who Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is?
He's a famous actor.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is.
Woods, okay? I live under a rock.
He is.
No, you live in North Carolina.
He's The Rock. Don't dox people, Thomas. Thomas, cut that out. Thomas, don't dox people.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Dwayne. Okay, let's just focus on the telescope. Okay.
Yeah.
We should talk about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I want to rant now, but
yeah.
Okay, so basically, Via, would you like to talk about what you were talking about earlier about the telescope and about the stuff?
Wait, what?
You know about how you're talking about the telescope and 13 that are already there?
That was y'all that were talking about that, but apparently the organization that's putting this telescope up had agreed that the last one was going to be the last one to go up on that mountain, and now that's obviously not true.
And apparently they've said that during previous occasions as well.
It'll only be the last one when there's no native land left.
And it's also important to note that this telescope is going to be the largest of the group that's on Mauna Kea. So it's going to encompass a lot more area. And so more land will be desecrated than ever before at any one time.
array is in surface area already larger, because that's like a dozen or so small telescopes that they combine in one, but like they can move them around and everything, so it takes up a whole lot of space in that sense.
A similar example can be found at ALMA, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array. I think that's yeah.
But I mean, there are a lot of telescopes out there already. It's a bit ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally, all forms of like cosmology is literally obvious right now.
I mean, we can put telescopes in space. I mean, it's better than kicking native people off their land.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of this telescope.
I think that a much better option would be to put it on a different mountain somewhere.
I'm not sure how. I'll play devil advocate for a second. I'm not sure how many other mountains there are with the specific. There's a bunch of specific reasons about the environment here. I'm not offending it. I'm just saying the reason why they can't do it on any other random mountain is probably because of specific environmental factors that make it much easier for the visuals and things when actually looking out into space.
And also, Mauna Kea is the largest island. I'm sorry, the largest mountain on any of the Hawaiian Islands, and only it and Mauna Loa, its nearer neighbor, are basically the highest points on the Hawaiian Islands, and no other peak apparently comes close to reaching the altitudes that are on Mauna Kea.
Yeah, but no telescope can match the altitude of the Hubble.
That's true.
But the Hubble isn't on secure ground. And this isn't to say that they're justified doing it. I'm just saying I don't think there's a but the thing is, I don't care if there's not a replacement. I value the sacred ground more over than another telescope, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and it's important to note that it truly does not matter what scientific advancements might be made because the rights of the people who have lived on that land for centuries outweigh what some scientists want to do with it.
I doubt that whatever advances would come from the telescope can't be done elsewhere using different means. It probably might be a bit harder.
Yeah.
I doubt that is, but
native people shouldn't suffer for laziness, for scientific laziness.
I don't know if I'd call it laziness, but I get what you mean. What was I also gonna say? Oh yeah, I wouldn't advocate for them to put like a telescope on the Wailing Wall either. I wouldn't advocate them to do it on Mount Rushmore. I don't even like the fact that there's a I don't like the fact that there is what do they call it? The cell tower, I think, on the Eiffel Tower, but that's their choice. But I don't like it when it happens to other monuments and things that mean a lot to the culture of the people either. So I'm not going to stand up for it if they're doing it to this cultural icon and an important spiritual area for those people.
Agreed.
Opinion here, but like with your example of the Eiffel Tower, I wouldn't have too much problems with that because it's not. It doesn't necessarily mean changing the original structure there, but like this is literally going to change the mountain. I mean, let's face it. Let's be honest here. They're gonna need to create an environment suitable for building it, then actually build the thing. So it's not just plugging something onto the side of a pre-existing building or anything. It's really it is a very substantive change here.
Yeah, it's not like a home telescope outside and setting it up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, if I don't support it being on the Eiffel Tower, then why would I support it on the mountain either if it's even more extreme?
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with them changing the Eiffel Tower.
I would have a big problem with them changing it.
Well, I don't think the two are comparable because no one uses the Eiffel Tower for any sacred rites, but people on the Hawaiian Islands do use Mauna Kea for sacred rites.
My point wasn't about sacred rites. That was an aspect of it. It's about culture.
Oh, I see.
So it's cultural as well and important to the identity. I just don't like people tacking on things to that. But you can have your opinion. It's a place for mostly just for the highest priests. I can't remember how to say the name. I don't want to mess it up. But go ahead, Calon.
Ali'i.
The Ali'i go up there and they do. They're the only ones allowed up there, and they go do a sacred rite.
Yeah, that's because it's considered to be such a sacred place. These priests are considered to have a ton of power, socially speaking.
All right. By the way, did y'all find the articles on it?
On Google Maps in this case, I'm trying to figure out where exactly they're trying to build this thing, but I can't find it.
Isn't that the very top or around the top where the priests usually go? I remember hearing that. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember them saying, because it was probably the best area for the telescope to get a good glimpse, at least. Oh, and some of the other arguments for the to play devil's advocate, to give y'all a challenge, some of the arguments for the telescope would mostly be economic boosts and things along those lines. And
yeah, but they all fall flat to the fact that it's native land.
I agree with you, but I'm just giving off the I agree with you, but I'm giving off the counter arguments.
Yeah, but all the counter arguments fail.
That's the point.
The point isn't to try to defend the arguments. It's trying to understand it so that we can tear it down ourselves.
So I can tell them what the arguments are, and so that y'all can respond to them. It'd mostly be the economic benefits and the scientific benefits. I'd argue against it because I don't like sacred areas being taken or culturally significant areas being taken down and having being deformed in the name of something like science. I don't hate science. I just care more about sacred ground.
What do you mean by economic?
Like it's the economy, having more people come by to do the discoveries, and whatever discoveries were done, they would probably economically benefit, like monetary wise. Get more jobs, get things like that.
I could see that, but
I can't, to be honest.
But I feel like I'm not entirely sure how the telescopes themselves operate, but usually it's people from outside the community or even outside the state or country who come in to do research on
So the way
in these
it would work,
telescopes.
so the way it would benefit is you would have a little gift shop, various little educational programs, and that kind of stuff. That's how
I
it would
see.
benefit the economy.
Yeah,
Still stealing native. You don't, and it's still stealing native land
Mhm.
from an already colonized people.
I'm just giving you the arguments I've heard from Hawaiians. These are also ones I've heard, or at least from self-professed Hawaiians on Reddit. But anyway, I'm not going to deal with the heat from that. But I'm just giving you the arguments I did find.
But the economics would, if it's as Calon suggests, as just simply some educational things in a gift shop, that honestly sounds very minimal or marginal.
It does, but I think you're underestimating them a bit because they can get, especially when it comes to schools and things.
Well, the other thing is also there are 13 other telescopes there that are abandoned that they could perfectly make use of.
Are they abandoned?
Yeah.
Then why don't they take them down? Okay, I'm going to look into that. If they're abandoned, they should take them off. At least, I don't know how difficult that is, but from a layman's perspective, they should take it off.
Deterioration doesn't cost money.
That's a good point.
But
it's a safety hazard.
But if you want to go use the telescope, just go to Hawaii. All you have to do is clean the lens yourself.
Spit on it and start rubbing with a little towel. Like riding a bike. I don't know what retrofit means, so I don't know. Wait, what?
It means to rebuild a structure that has previously been abandoned or destroyed.
Or basically to upgrade it.
Add things onto a structure in ways that it wasn't necessarily meant for.
Thank you, Wiki Scholar. Okay, no. It just sounded like you're reading that via.
Nope. Just off the top of the head.
I need to read the spelling bee words again. Okay.
And this one's probably going to get abandoned too. So they can build another one.
Build one on top.
It's going to be $1.4 billion.
Big is that? Wait, is it? What company is doing it? Like, how big is that for the company or whoever's doing it? Like, some doesn't like some that's like a drop in the bucket. Sorry. Is there a net gain though? Like, I'm curious. Like, for the company at least, is there a net gain for this? Aside from, I guess, scientific discoveries, is there like a economic net gain?
No. Most of these telescopes are operated by either universities or government services like NASA. So, for example, you have the Caltech, that is a university. You
Mhm.
have
University of Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. You have the Gemini Observatory, which is who is that?
Run cooperatively by the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Chile, Australia, Argentina, and Brazil.
Everyone has their hands in that bucket.
Yeah, no kidding.
Gosh, the UK.
And the James Clerk Maxwell Telescope is run cooperatively by China, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, the United Kingdom, and Canada as well.
Cooperatively, I doubt that, but
Yeah.
no, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on it, but I am going to comment on it, but I'm not going to say anything that I think is technically correct.
Pretty much anything astronomy related is always going to have international pull, because in order to view certain patches of the sky, it tends to have to be a global effort.
Yeah.
Point, because we have, it was like with the black hole viewing, we had to get everybody together to work together to see that black hole. Took like, what was it, a year?
Yeah.
But any. That would be a lot of. For NASA, it'd probably be a lot from what I know of how much they get, at least when I last checked. If it's a multinational though cooperation, it might not be that much, because if there's a bunch of countries in their hand in the bucket, then it could be better.
But this still doesn't matter if it's sacred land that other people don't get to decide how to use it. It's
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate because it's fun, and I think it just needs it, because we're all just gonna be agreeing with each other if I know. Fun to watch. Just enough to get a new wardrobe. No, I'm kidding, but I'm joking.
Only by the contractors probably who would be actually building it, but that's just temporary, because once it's finished, those jobs are probably going to be gone or reallocated somewhere else.
Workers shipped out.
Sorry, what, Calon?
I said it won't be gone. The workers will simply be shipped out, because
okay.
Some specialized skills to build a telescope, I would imagine.
Yeah. I see.
So most of that money would probably not even go into the Hawaiian economy.
Let me see if I can find some more devil's advocate questions. I like playing devil's advocate. Let's see.
I bet you do.
I do.
Cingeto.
Like to be one of them contrarians.
So, I mean, who is going to have the final say in this? Is this going to be Hawaiian?
But what would be the Hawaiian local Hawaiian government, right? It's like the state should this unless the mountains are technically federal land, it should be
They aren't.
they're not. If they aren't, so then like legally federal land. Not if they should be, but if they're legally federal land, then the government can do whatever the crap they want.
Yeah. Earlier in October 2018, the Supreme Court of Hawaii confirmed the start of the building under legal means.
Under memes, what?
I'm speaking terribly here.
Oh.
Basically, they authorized the building of it in October 2018. That's a better way of saying it. I'm terrible at words.
It's fine. I just said memes or memes, and I was confused for a second. Let's see. Trying to find some more contrarian arguments. Fight for the future. The future is science. Let's see. This is an article. It might be good. Okay, someone want to fill in the blank space while I'm looking up contrarian stuff?
It was the Supreme Court of Hawaii, so the Supreme Court of the state of Hawaii. So I guess in the Dutch or Swamp German equivalent, it would be if a court in North Holland or South Holland decided to do something for that particular area. Oh, I see. I see.
Or any other member states matters, but except in certain cases with human rights and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, oh wow, this is apparently earlier this month.
Okay. Huh.
So apparently there could be riots. I guess they're gonna have to decide what to do with the protesters then, aren't they?
Probably gonna have to detain them or something if they want to build it.
Well, that's the narrative that's already been started, is that these places are like drug-filled cesspools where the protesters are. That's all to shape a dominant narrative to justify basically moving them out by any means possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's imperialism for you. Build a narrative and then make the action happen.
Mm-hmm. And again, no one of the local people has actually signed on to this.
Wait, what is it? Is Mauna Kea like privately owned, or who is it owned by? Technically the governor, or I'm trying to figure out who actually technically owns the land. If it's not federal, and it's Wait, so it's federal?
Yeah, it's a U.S. national landmark, and I think there's a national park associated with it. So then that would have to be.
Is it in the national park?
I'm
If it is, then they shouldn't be allowed to do anything to it after what was that guy? Roosevelt?
yeah.
I need to brush up on my history with America. Gosh, Artie, let me see. Oh, okay. There's actually some other arguments that are non-religious for anybody who wants a non-religious argument for Monarchia. There are stuff about the environment and et cetera that have a huge impact on that, especially on species like lava crickets.
And also impacting the water supply and the water quality is
really?
Yeah.
Curious now, how does that work?
I assume that's from runoff that then gets filtered off to various rivers or streams.
Actually, it's pretty easy to see how it would.
I don't, but I do see how it would affect lava crickets, which are an interesting species. If you want me to go into
Humans have biological functions. This becomes sewage.
Oh, that. Okay, there we go. That.
And of course, Cingeto was the one who's interested by the lava cricket.
Let's talk about the lava crickets now. Actually, I like them because they actually live off of a freshly cooled lava, so it's fascinating. Like they're the first environments after like volcanoes erupt. The lava's cooling and stuff. These crickets will jump onto it and take advantage of that and be basically the pioneers of the nuclear made lava environments. That's cool. And you're gonna, especially on a volcano, if you keep building these things, you're gonna mess up that environment for them.
Yeah, so save the cricket. That should be the new campaign.
Save the cricket. Yeah, I'm doing that. There we go. Save them crickets.
Is the volcano dormant or not?
I do not
Yes,
know,
it is
but I
dormant.
do care about crap.
Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anyone that. The crickets. Crickets. Shh. Delete that too. So all these articles are in support of what I'm in support of. Gosh, why can't I find anything contrary?
The last eruption was 2,460 BCE plus or minus 100 years. So it's been thousands of years since it last erupted.
Oh, we need more eruptions. Brings out the personality of the volcano.
So,
okay,
yeah.
Supreme Court in Hawaii who approved of it. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I guess it is federal land.
Not necessarily. No, it's in a weird spot because it's actually in a trust that's supposed to benefit all the Hawaiian people.
I guess you could technically make the argument for the telescope under that then.
Well, all you need is the cricket argument.
What?
All you need is the cricket argument.
Good point. I like that argument because crickets are important and everyone hates them, except me.
So, apparently the enclosure is completed and is ready to be shipped from Canada.
Shoot it down.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't take me literally. I'm kidding. Well, you can shoot a truck too. I shouldn't say anything. I'm not going to be quiet.
Cingeto?
We don't want to get demonetized.
We're not even monetized.
No, I get banned.
We wouldn't. They know I'm joking. The kind people at YouTube know I would never, ever, in my wildest dreams, do anything evil.
Cingeto?
Yeah,
Be nice.
I'm very nice. That's why I said did not do it.
So that's going to be several years.
I'll be dead by then.
Hmm.
Let's see. It looks like, at least from this article on Scientific American, the protests have shut down the other 13 observatories. Have y'all seen that? It was the protests are the things that shut down the other observatories, is what it looks like.
Could you post that in the chat?
Sure. But that'd be interesting if it was that caused them to shut down. That'd be fast. I'm curious if that's the reason. There you go. It's in the chat. Not that chat. The other chat. I know which one you were going to. This is quiet. Okay, let's see. So, the cricket argument, there's probably some other natural things, including the waste argument. I bet you can make a lot of environmental arguments.
And again,
the biggest reason is because it's sacred ground, and I do not want that to be defiled by a 1,000-pound, 30 feet across hunk of junk.
Mm-hmm.
But since I want to play devil's advocate, I just wish I could figure out where the article I saw earlier on the conditions and why it's so useful. The biggest reason is everyone thinks it'll be super useful because of the conditions with the I think it's the atmosphere is thinner, I'm pretty sure, and probably less light pollution up there, which makes it easier to see the stars.
So if you really actually want to protest this, what you do is you get like a ton of flares and you just keep flares burning on the sacred spot.
Okay, you're probably going to hit somebody if you keep doing that up there. Or burn the sacred spot, though.
Well, the sacred spot is pretty desolate since it's just a bunch of graves.
There's altars up there, right? I remember reading about them being altars up there because of when they go up too.
Just think of it as lighting candles to the gods.
We're gonna burn the altars and stuff, and it's gonna be all. I don't think the those priests would enjoy that very much.
I mean, I think modern Hawaiian polytheism is a topic in and of itself because it apparently still exists.
Yeah.
Unbroken fashion. You can still find a kahun or a kahuna, which Cingeto actually got the chance to look into some Hawaiian polytheistic theology. Why don't you share this with us, Cingeto?
I can give you some of the basics of what I did learn. Okay, I can give you the what is it? Okay, there's 4 gods in the main pantheon, and then there is 40 male gods or aspects of Cain, which is one of the 4 main gods, and there's 400 gods and goddesses, the Loa. And there's a great multitude of more gods and goddesses. There's various spirits and guardians. There's another simpler breakdown that I love, which is the 4 main gods, the many lesser gods, or the Kapua, and then the guardian spirits are the Amakwea. Hopefully I'm saying that right, but it's fairly phonetic, so it might be if I'm lucky.
You said it better than when you said Cain. It's actually Kane.
Kane. Okay.
Yeah, we're not Christians here.
We're not worshiping Bigfoot.
Oh, okay, the Mormon thing.
Yeah.
For that. Let's see. And then and I also know about there's various interesting concepts within the religion and how it interacts with the language too, because they speak in a lot of metaphors instead of directly, because they hold language to be so sacred they wouldn't even speak it directly. That's another aspect, and then there is the aspect of higher.
Why don't you go over some of the religious concepts of Hawaiian theology?
Like Ku, or your higher self?
Yeah, go over that.
Okay. There's Ku, which is your higher self. It's basically it's what you're trying to achieve when you do things. It is all the good, taking away all the negatives. Sort of similar to concepts in other religions. but it's still fairly unique. And they're the main, from what I've heard, I'll go ahead and preview this part. Might be wrong. Hopefully, this sounds right though. The main rules are against specifically harm spiritual, physical, mental, etc. Things like that. That's the main rule. Most of the other stuff's fine. They're very pluralistic with how they allow you to interpret things, and many people have many different interpretations of the stories and stuff that they have passed on. Let me think what else I can remember. There is also, and I remember one of the guys saying he would count all of the improper or bad things he'd do in order to help him to achieve a coup. And if he counted more, doing more of those bad things the next day after the previous day of doing it, then he would go into a special area and then pray about it. I remember, if I'm remembering correctly.
Prayer is actually an part of Hawaiian.
Sorry, what?
What'd you say?
I said prayer is actually an incredibly important part of traditional Hawaiian religion.
It's the people who pray instead of the leader. I remember that part as well. And also, if you have achieved coup or be merged with your higher self or become your higher self, the representation of that would be by wearing white as well. I know that. White's a sacred color.
Mm-hmm.
There's some fascinating concepts I remember getting across.
Well, keep going over those fascinating concepts. Be greedy. Share it with us.
Let's see what else I can find. That's the basics of what I can remember at the moment. If I can find the other stuff. What else? Why don't you? I think you're being greedy, Calon. What else do you remember from your research?
That the four main deities are called the Kaha. The Kaha were Kane, Lono. Let me look them up real quick because I can't remember them all. Yeah, Ku, Kane, Lono, Kanoloa. And from those, you have 40 male gods or aspects of Kane, the Keikahana, the Keikanahe, which, for those who don't know, Ke and Ka are articles in Hawaiian, basically just meaning the. So literally the Kahana. Then you have the spirit. You have a great multitude of spirits and gods and goddesses attached to various areas.
One of the most famous being Pele.
Mm-hmm.
That being the goddess associated with volcanoes and storms, and relating to Pele, there are a couple volcanic phenomena that are attributed to her. There's one phenomena where lava cools into these strand-like filaments, which are often referred to as Pele's hair, and also when lava cools in a specific way that look like tears, they are often called Pele's tears.
Exactly. So in short, there's a very rich tradition here. This rich tradition needed... What?
I said, a lot.
This rich tradition needs to be preserved. Building this telescope is desecrating this tradition. Therefore, this telescope should not be built. And this is all in addition to the fact that it's still native land that should not be taken away from them.
Yeah, it can be attributed to something like the building of Mount Rushmore, because Mount Rushmore was native land and it was desecrated by carving the likenesses of various presidents onto it, and it did not have any native say whatsoever in its construction.
Yeah, a lot of people died constructing Mount Rushmore.
Who was the guy who made it? Let me see if I remember. It was Gutzon Bulgrim. Yeah, that's the guy. And it was finished by his son, actually.
Mhm.
Fascinating story.
So yeah, does anyone else have anything to add, or should we call it here?
Let's see. Building telescope equals bad. There you go.
All right, Thomas, Via.
Nothing
I
in
mean-
particular to add.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else either.
I think we about covered it all.
Or to the best that we could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think personally, scientific progress is important, but there has been a lot of giving in this context already from that point.
Mhm.
Question basically becomes, can we expect more from them? And I don't
I mean,
think
it
that's
certainly seems like a historical precedent that they keep on saying, "Oh, this telescope will be the last one," and yet there are at least a dozen telescopes on Mauna Kea. So they really don't respect the native indigenous traditions of the island.
from I did actually read something there. Basically, from what I read, I can't find it back this quickly, but I read somewhere that basically the idea was that there was going to be a maximum of 13 telescopes. Now the question becomes, there are with the submillimeter array, there are something along the lines of a dozen or so telescopes in that one telescope. Do you
Yeah.
count that as one, or do you count that as 12? And that's basically where this friction comes from, because if you count it as one, then they are technically still within the limit. If you count it as 12, well,
I'll bet they'll use whatever limit, whatever is most convenient for them.
I mean, that's going to be on both sides in this case, because of course
There's really only one side that's in the right here.
Mm-hmm.
as my mother used to say, when two parties fight, two parties always win. So nobody's blameless.
That's not entirely true.
I would agree with Rhuagh there.
Nah, I mean, in the end, this is native land, and it's being stolen. The natives
Yeah.
are blameless here,
Yeah.
from a colonialist perspective.
That's one perspective. There's a bunch of perspectives on it.
But there's one perspective that is valid.
Correct.
According to the holder of the perspective, yes, but every perspective is valid according to the holder of the perspective. That's
Well, not every perspective is valid.
One thing that, for example, the natives could have done to prevent this is say, okay, this 13 telescope limit, let's define that.
No, they couldn't. No, because the system would have prevented that.
I disagree. I mean, it's never
This is America. We screw over native people. That's what we do.
I agree that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that you're never
You're right, bro. No,
Again, that implies that both are at fault when it's clearly one side that's being the aggressor in this situation.
One side can't be the aggressor, but that doesn't mean fault is a universal aspect of all situations. He's not saying that the natives are wrong for what they're doing. He's saying there is still things that could have gone better as well. So people need to keep that in mind when we're talking about it.
Yeah, but we're talking about right now. What could be done right now is just the halting of the telescope in accordance with the native traditions.
You're right, but we're also discussing how it works within all parties and all conflicts too, as well. That's another aspect of this that we're discussing as well. This is what Rhuagh was just trying to point out. No one's ever fully blameless. There are people who have more of the blame and who are doing worse things. I'm not going to deny that. But no one's fully blameless in every situation or any situation.
For example, if you start looking at the start of, like, I don't know how long ago, but when the first telescope came out, basically, the problem with that is if it's this important, it should have already stopped there. And that's going to be one of the things that the scientific community is going to use as leverage.
Yeah, they're going to use a lot of other things too as leverage, but that's a big one, yes.
Exactly. So I'm not saying they are wrong. I am saying that there's always two sides to a story.
And there's two perspectives, and there's a bunch of things people are going to abuse and use as their own leverage and stuff. I agree with you guys fully on this. They shouldn't do it. I don't like any sacred thing being taken and using for purposes other than the sacred aspect of it. But there are things that could have gone better, and that's all Rhuagh was trying to say. Anywho, let's see what else we can. Any other points you want to make, Rhuagh, about this, or Via or Thomas? Did y'all have anything else you want to add?
Well, Tartan Snowflake has recently entered the chat, and they said that gotta disagree here. In North America, as soon as you start a sentence with, quote, the natives could have prevented this by, the rest of the sentence is wrong, and they are a native person. So I definitely see their points. Because it's victim blaming.
He's not blaming anybody. He's saying they could prevent the leverage from being held, so no one's clearly blameless.
No. But
And that.
Yeah, there are multiple perspectives, but yeah, go ahead, Calon.
They all aren't equal. At the end of the day, you have a white man coming in and stealing land from the natives.
All aren't equal to whom?
Aren't equal to each other.
Yeah.
Well, to who? Because these are perspectives from people. They're not going to be all equal to people. That's why there's a conflict. But that's what Thomas has been saying.
No. We're talking about perspectives here.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They're not all equal in everyone's perspective. Some people fall on the side of supporting the telescope. Some people don't. That's because they're not unequal in perspective, and that's what Thomas was trying to point out.
Well, they are unequal because one side is clearly at fault.
Yeah.
And by at fault, I mean is clearly in the wrong.
In your perspective, it is, yes. And in our perspective, it is.
Is wrong. Yeah, but that perspective.
Well, there is, but it's religious, and people aren't going to like it. So that's
No. There is, and that is native people were here first. Native people have oral tradition and have been here for thousands of years. Therefore, it is their land. That is very objective.
Yes. And it is objective that in many instances, far too many that I can count, native people were just going about their traditions and practices and were slaughtered or prevented from doing so by whatever means, by military means, by legal means, by economic means. There are tons of different ways that the US and the UK and other countries have gone about this.
No, we consider it wrong because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my objective case. These people were on this land for thousands and thousands of years beforehand, and then comes along the Oh, I do. They have a right to that land.
Why do you say might is right?
Yeah, that perspective is wrong.
We should discuss this later. Okay, we should discuss this later. This is gonna.
Why not? Let's have our first shit
I don't
show.
want people getting upset, but I don't want people getting mad at each other. But okay, if y'all can promise you won't get mad at each other over anything, then getting passionate is fine. But just don't get mad at each other because I don't want to deal with that. But.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is.
Well, objectively, one side is harming or preventing another side from doing any from.
You could flip that as well. On the other side, say you could flip that the telescope. Yes, that could be translated as harm. That's the devil's advocate perspective, and that's what we're trying to point out.
No, because there are other means of achieving the goal.
There's no means of achieving the goal of putting the telescope on Mauna Kea without putting the telescope on Mauna Kea.
Yeah, but there are equivalents to where you don't have to put the telescope on Mauna Kea.
Where?
Somewhere you could do it. You can link them all up in space. You can put it.
But there's issues with doing it in space that won't be there when doing it in Mauna Kea, so it's not equivalent.
But
No. When I mean equivalent, I mean scientific equivalence. As in, you can get just as good data from other sources, though it may be harder.
Do you think that? It will cost more, and it will. You don't know if it'll have the exact same effect because there's issues in space that don't suffer when your telescope's under atmosphere.
No, I think if we can record a black hole, if we have that capability without Mauna Kea, I think. Well, then that's the problem with the funding. That has nothing to do with stealing native land from the native people.
The funding to do it. So it's
well,
not
then
equivalent.
That's their problem, not the native people's problem.
In your perspective.
No.
Yes, in your perspective it isn't, because if to them it's everyone's problem because space is a universal issue. Like if there's
about space, this is about native land.
To you, but about them, it's about space and understanding.
They can get that somewhere else. They don't need it with this native.
Where?
So what you're arguing for basically is an excuse for me to go bulldoze down everywhere where you live and set up a laboratory to cure cancer.
Yes, you could argue that with the exact same thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not agreeing with it, but you can still argue it.
Yeah. Well, so
that's the point.
So yeah, move out of your house.
Okay.
Give it. No, it is.
And not objectively wrong in a certain sense. If you use religion, you can translate it as objectively wrong. But if
it is objectively wrong, even in a non-religious sense.
Okay, explain that.
If you hold that stealing is morally wrong.
Well, you have to hold that then.
Which most people,
if you don't consider the religious aspect of it, it isn't stealing because the land is owned by the government and the government will keep.
no,
And
yeah, but the government
you-
stole the land from the people originally.
And
Allowing for debt giving.
not any. This is
Oh,
part of
we're-
it now.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry,
part of it
we
now.
not do this period, but we are in control now, so therefore you must bow to us in every recommendation, and that therefore makes us right. That's how that
You can
comes.
use that argument as well. Yes.
Fundamentally, one side has
there's
the
also the argument. There's also the argument that land shouldn't be able to belong to anyone, and therefore it's not stealing to use someone else's land.
You can use that as well. There's a lot of arguments,
Yep,
but
you
the
have to-
biggest one is the scientific benefits out. You can use the ends justify the means if you want in this argument. It just depends on the framework you're abiding by. And this is where I'm using my religious values in order to say this is objectively wrong. And people who don't have those can go out and say it isn't.
Yeah, and they can be wrong.
Yes, according to religious values, but not according to them because it's for science's sake.
No, according to them, I mean, as an objective reality.
What about objective reality says this is incorrect to do? Not about what you believe is wrong, but what about objective reality?
The fact that morality exists.
Yes, in a religious sense, yes, but what do we
No, it exists
people?
in a sense.
Huh?
It exists in the functioning of human beings.
What's most functional? So you mean utilitarian kind of sense?
No, I mean virtue ethics.
Okay, explain.
I would, but that goes on into a whole other question, whether than it's
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that'd be fine.
what you're in essence asking me to do is to justify the existence of moral values.
Outside of religious justification, yes.
Which is a different conversation than saying, is this right or wrong?
Well, this is part of the conversation that we're diving into.
I would just like to
explain it, but yes, Thomas.
I would just like to bring up a point that was made in the chat. Mistress Angelica said, but it would hurt people and erase their culture.
True, but if you care more about science than culture, then it doesn't matter. I don't. I care more about culture than science. But for someone who has the opposite perspective, there you go.
I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree with y'all. Sorry. Unless you use religion, unless that's the point I'm trying to make is a necessity for religion. Yes, so that's a good point. So religion, there you go.
It hurts the functioning of perception of the scientific community and is therefore wrong because the scientific community is stamping out native cultures, and that makes people less willing to work with them.
That is non-beneficial, but is that defined as wrong in that moral sense?
Yes, it is wrong.
Non-beneficial. Would it be more non-beneficial for them not to build a telescope and risk the bad press then?
It is non-beneficial and it is wrong because it impacts the functioning of human society as a whole.
You mean just
negative way?
Of Hawaii. This isn't as a whole.
Morality is grounded in how humans function. When humans function well and when they thrive, then we can say that a sort of state of human excellence has been achieved, and with a human state, we can say that moral things are being done.
Is this virtue ethics?
No, this is an objective moral framework grounded in human functioning. This framework exists whether you want it to or not. If I have a society of serial killers and they all kill each other, can we really say that society is functioning well?
No.
No. I'm defining morality as grounded in the functioning of human beings. It's objective so long as it has an external source, and the external source, whether you like it or not, is in the functioning of human beings.
Okay, and where's your evidence for that claim? That should be how it's defined.
We had the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement clearly helped helped human functioning in that it made blacks more equal. I mean, they're still not equal today, comparatively speaking, but it got the conversation started, and it's allowing us to start making progress. More evidence.
And religions have helped people in a lot of ways. And lots of different religions, even horrible religions, have helped people in certain ways.
No.
Yes. So you can make the same argument for any religion if you want about how it's helped. Like, just because it helps doesn't mean it's the moral framework.
No, because it helps. When it helps people become more virtuous, then we can say that that religion has a good moral value.
You have to define virtuous. Getting in.
No, this is fair. This is virtue. This is basic ethics here.
Well, I need you to define it.
Human functioning. Because that's what it is. That is where it exists. It exists objectively. Whether a society functions well or not, and whether people function well or not, is independent of my senses and of my cognition.
Yes. What's your top?
No, it's not, because
where is it defined? Where is it defined? Where is it universally defined as what linked? The reason for all this is because people define it in different ways, and that's the issue. It's a flexible word, like religion. There's no completely established definition.
There's no issue here.
For you to
I set out this philosophical framework, and I haven't seen a challenge to it yet.
In what way? Oh, you just challenged it by asking why is it the definition in the first place?
The definition is that it's grounded in human functioning.
And why should morality be in human functioning?
What?
Why should morality be in human functioning? This is all just going to kick down. This is just kicking the can down the road further.
Indicate net beneficial happiness and human excellence.
And why should that be accounting for morality?
Don't make it to the moon.
Why should that be? Why should human happiness be the grounding for morality? Why not human suffering be the grounding for morality? Why not any? There's lots of. This gets weird.
Just because there are other statements like that does not really challenge my framework at all. If human function,
but challenging the universality of your framework, not
really. No, because it's still universal in the sense that it has an effective grounding outside of my senses.
Being effective, defining it doesn't mean that everyone upholds to it.
It doesn't mean people don't have to uphold to it.
That's an issue.
It's objective and it exists in morality. Therefore, people don't have to uphold to it. They're bound to it, whether they like it or not.
How are they bound to it?
No, because this has an empirical basis in the sense of we can tell when someone's functioning well versus when someone is functioning poorly. If someone is drunk, they keep sabotaging themselves, they keep performing these negative behaviors, we can objectively say that they are not functioning well, they are being self-destructive.
But they might also be in a state of bliss as well, and there are a lot of other factors that go into that.
The other factors are irrelevant. No, you're not, because it's not. The goal is your goal. The goal is eudaimonia, or a well functioning within the social framework. Therefore,
okay, we should. Why don't we should actually turn this into an episode to milk the money. I mean, to milk the view. Let's turn this into an episode because it might actually be a fun debate about how morality and etc. But why don't we turn, because this is going to go on for forever. So let's talk about this later, and let's actually start setting up some things and getting into this. This might actually be a fun debate topic if y'all want to do it for another stream soon.
Perhaps.
But anyone to get mad at each other at the moment, and I feel like being the. I know you're not mad. I don't want it to get to that point, and I don't know if this will. So let's avoid bringing friends. I know it's just fun. I think it's just fun, but I think we should probably save this for another time and then go back to the original subject, because it's going to say Monarchia, and then it's going to be like 30 minutes of us debating morality. It's not going to be fun. Does everyone agree to that?
Sure, because I'm seeing that this is not going to go in.
It's not going to go
in any specific direction.
Yeah. You and then Calon can say your piece. How's that sound?
All I want to say is that I do find it kind of cute that the Rhuagh network that is slightly, if you look at it with a bit of cloud modulation, slightly hard.
Calon, you want to say your piece?
About what? I mean,
The
like,
debate. If you just
that
before,
is-
because we might say this for another time. Did you want to say any last words or anything?
I mean, I've laid it out. It's
Okie doke.
there. What is there to say? It's objective.
My general
Fine.
thing is that I understand that there may be multiple perspectives in any area of conflict, but not every one of those perspectives is valid in a sense of bringing happiness to those and by bringing happiness to those affected by the conflict.
Well, that's where you get into semantics and have to define what you mean by valid, etc. But anywho, that's the fun part. Y'all have anything else you want to say about the actual topic of the video that we're supposed to be doing? Volcano. I'm sorry. This is fun though. I did enjoy it. Hopefully the audience did. Anyone want to check that? It's in a good position, mostly.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what what she
It's
was
like-
asking, but
Well, I mean, I think she's asking why does it need to be there, and aside from
Or just sort of what's the goal of this particular telescope?
it's in a better spot than the others, I guess, or it's in a better spot in conjunction with the others, probably.
yeah, it's probably a bit more complicated even because from
I'm a simpleton. Come on.
that's that.
Probably something to do with atmospheric density, etc., all that fun stuff.
Sure.
That was a fun little devil's advocate. Goodbye. Sleep tight. Yeah.
Oh,
Good. Now I remember.
it's been years since I've seen The Lion King.
Have you turned off the stream, Rhuagh? Hi.